Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. This is Working Lunch Live, guys. As I explained on the comments, having a little bit of trouble trying to find time to actually go live this week as I'm on late at work, and that means finishing around about 11 o'clock and midnight. So not a great time to do football podcast in the UK around about 11 midnight. If you're doing NFL podcast, that's a great time because it's obviously their evening over there, but not a brilliant time to do them over here. Just wanted to go live, wanted to talk to everyone, wanted to kind of put it all together this week. Massive week for Rangers, obviously coming off the back of that fight back victory over Hearts. To then, obviously, we've got Dundee coming up on Wednesday night, and then Sunday, the semi-final of the League Cup against, again, Hearts returning. Obviously, we're playing them at Hampden Park. Should be an interesting one, nonetheless. I think, just sort of finishing off on Sunday. Duncan McCarrick, hi, Owen. Hi, Duncan. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you here at lunchtime. I know, obviously, we won't probably get as big an audience as we normally get for pods, but you know what? If you're picking this up at a later date, thank you very much. And if you can smash the sub, if you've not yet subscribed, please hit that sub. Well, if we kind of look back a little bit on Sunday's game, it was, it was an absolutely dreadful performance. And kind of, I think, for Clement, it would be more of a learning experience than perhaps the Sparta game and the Hibs game. I think Hibs obviously came and played very wide open against us, and wasn't, that's not the typical way in the SPL. We know that, don't we? We know week in, week out, we're going to come up against mid blocks, low blocks. Teams are not going to want to come out and play us because they know that if they come out and play us, we've got the superior players, we've got superior attackers. Yes, I know a lot of us don't think they're superior players, but they are superior to a lot of the hammer throwers that play for St Johnstone and Livy and Ross County and Aberdeen and so on and so forth. So, come out and play us, you're going to get beat, and that's just fact. But I think Clement will have learned a lot more from Sunday about his players. And I think the worry for me was that for a lot of that game, we saw kind of a return to the old awful performances of slow build-up, lots of backwards passing, sideways passing. John Lundstrom was our main midfield orchestrator, which was kind of worrying, especially after Nicholas Raskin went off injured. It was poor. Hey, Callum, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. It wasn't great at all, was it? But I think part of us, we've got to kind of accept, for me, that that's what we're going to get at this moment in time. Clement is clearly a very good manager, a very good coach, and he is a guy who wants to be on the training ground. He wants to work with the players. He has very clear goals in terms of fitness, in terms of standards, in terms of tactics, in terms of what he expects from his players. He is very clear on that. But the issue is, and this is for me is the best possible statement, was you can't polish a turd. And I think that's fine. That's right. You cannot polish a turd. You cannot make a turd all nice and shiny. It just doesn't work. And I think with certain players, I'm not calling them turds, but I'm saying what they are is they're not good players. And you can have the best coach in the world. You can have Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp. You could have Carlo Ancelotti. You could have Johan Cruyff of the past. You could have, some of the greatest managers of all time. But look, can you turn Sam Lammers, Cyril Dessers, Borna Barisic? Can you turn them into top-class players again? And I would say no, because they're just not up to it at the end of the day. Now, I was watching Rangers Review this morning, as many of you know that I was there. Joined the channel. Didn't even get a mention from Derek. What have I said to upset Derek? I wonder. Guys, find out what I've said to upset Derek. I loved Stevie's quote this morning. Stevie Clifford of Fallout had a brilliant quote this morning. He was asked, is there anyone better than Cyril Dessers? And he said, I'm sure there's a traffic cone at the training ground we could put up top that would be more effective than Cyril Dessers. Had me proper howling. The issue that we've got going forward, I think, until we get to January, is that you look at the squad and you look at who we've got in this squad now. You've got Kemar Roofe, who is once again, surprise, surprise, injured. Wow. Are we all shocked? No, we're not. I think it's probably time that we got rid of Kemar Roofe now. He's out of contract at the end of the season. I think it's time that we allowed him to gracefully move on to pastures new or to retirement or whatever it is he chooses to do. Other than that, you've got Danilo, who is clearly not 100% match fit yet. Yes, he was exceptional when he came on against the Hearts. He got that goal. He looked more lively. He created more in that time that he was on than Dessers has done the entire game. So for me, what else is there? You're kind of stuck in a really difficult situation. Who do you play up front? If you put Danilo up front, you probably get 55, 60 minutes out of him, maybe 70 at a stretch. And then you've got to think we've got a cup semi-final coming up on Sunday, which is equally as important because, I think as Callum, I think you agreed with me this morning, and you said this morning, every game between now and the end of the season in the league is a cup final. We're 5 points. We've cut their lead to 5, which is still a reasonably big gap. It's still, two losses by them, or a series of draws, and we win. But we can't afford to slip up again this season. It's just not allowable. We just cannot do it. If we slip up again this season, it's over. It's gone. It's back up to 8 points and it's gone. So every game is a cup final. So tomorrow night is an exceptionally important game, and we cannot afford to rest players for the semi-final. Look, I get that winning a trophy is important, but staying in touch in the league is, for me, more important. Now, this presents obviously with a bit of a dilemma. Do you start Dundee up front, get 60 minutes, 70 minutes out of him, or do you perhaps rest him or bring him in off the bench like we did on Sunday, with the aim of maybe starting him on Sunday against Hearts, giving them something different to come up against, given the fact we've just played Hearts? But then who do you go with up front? You could put Seamer up front, but then who goes out wide? Because if you don't want Lammers to play, then who goes there? It is a really tricky situation, looking at the problem is we have so many injuries at this moment in time that are holding us back. Now, Tom Lawrence is back in training this week. Is he going to be ready to play against Dundee? Probably not. Is he going to be ready for Hearts game on Sunday? Possibly on the bench. You've got Kieran Dowell, Jose Cifuentes. Now, Dowell has played out wide before, but again, Dowell and Cifuentes have just come back from injury. Can they play 90 minutes? I very much doubt it. Have they played any first-team football between getting injured and coming back? No, they haven't. So what do? Do you start them and risk them breaking down, or do you start them and hope they can give you 50, 60 minutes and then you take them off? Or do you use them from the bench for impact? One of them is going to have to play, or one of Jack, Cifuentes, Dowell is going to have to play, given the fact that obviously Nicholas Raskin is out for the game against Dundee. So what do we do? Who do we pick? Who do we play? A lot of people have talked about, well, it's going to be Ryan Jack, isn't it? But then is that too negative? It's Dundee, for goodness sake, at Dens Park. It's not Real Madrid at the Bernabeu or Bayern Munich at the Allianz or Manchester City at the Etihad. Is playing Jack and Lundstram as the two in front of the back four too negative, given the fact that, when Philippe Clement uses the 4-2-3-1 formation, he wants one to hold and one to bomb on and one to go box to box. But in that case, do you start Cifuentes because he's very much more that type of player alongside a Jack or a Lundstram, and then perhaps at half time bring him off and put Dowell on to get him 45 minutes? Is that something that Philippe Clement is going to do? It is a very tricky situation, isn't it? It is a difficult situation. What do we do with this team selection? I would hate to be Philippe Clement. Now, obviously, he speaks at 1 o'clock. We'll find out a little bit more at 1 o'clock as to what he's going to say and where we are going. Now, he's a lot more guarded, obviously, than what Michael Beale says in press conferences. Of course he is. He doesn't come out and give the verbal diarrhea that Michael Beale used to give. So he doesn't often give a lot away with injuries, but it'll be interesting to see when he's asked, when he's questioned, which he will be, over team players, over replacements for Raskin, who is fit, who is able to play 90 minutes. I mean, the issue we've got as well is how many minutes can we get out of Cantwell? Again, we saw Cantwell come off after 60, 65 minutes on Sunday. Again, he'd started to look leggy. He'd started to look to a point where he was tiring as well. And Cantwell, I thought, worked so hard on Sunday. He wasn't anywhere near his brilliant best. That may be where he was played, but he worked really hard. He never gave up. He kept running. He kept fighting. Was anybody good on Sunday? Probably not. No, probably not. But look, we'll come back to them now. Dessers and Lammers. I'll be absolutely honest with you. Yes, I understand there is a real worry there in terms of fitness of players. I understand there is a concern over who can come in and replace them. But for me, both of them look absolutely dreadful on Thursday against Prague. Both of them looked absolutely dreadful on Sunday. Lammers bottled a couple of challenges. Dessers how Dessers doesn't stick his foot through that one that got cleared off the line, I do not know. Any striker worth his salt reacts in that situation, puts his boot through the ball, it's a goal. And it's an equaliser before Tav misses that penalty. So, yes, I get that. It's just such a difficult one. Personally, I would love to see McCausland get a start. I think he's earned to start. I think he is a very talented young man. I think he is a very talented player. You know, he showed more in the time that he came on than Lammers had done in the entire rest of the game. You know, McCausland ran at people. He got at people. He put up the first ball he put into the box with a curve on it. So I think it was to either Dundee or to Seema. Was brilliant. It was a fantastic ball in. You know, he's got youthful exuberance. He isn't going to want to let you down. And he's going to be someone, you know, if you said to Ross McCausland, look, Ross, go out there and show us that you're worthy of a first team place. Go on, you go out there and do it. I guarantee it. He will work a damn sight harder than some of those other players out there. A damn sight harder than Lammers. A damn sight harder than Dessers. A damn sight harder than Lundstrom, than Barisic, than any of those players. Ross McCausland will not let you down. I would love to see Ross McCausland get the start on Wednesday night against Dundee. I think he's deserved it. Like I said, whenever he's come on, he's never let us down. You know, it does, of course, impress that problem that I think, you know, McCausland for Lammers is a natural swap. Lammers will, of course, be on the bench because we are lacking in attacking options. You know, whether we like it or not, whether we want to see Lammers in a Rangers shirt again, we are stuck with him until January. Is anyone going to take him off our hands in January? I would guess not, because who wants him? Who wants a player that fails week in, week out? Yes, he has a Europa League winners medal in his back pocket. That may help in selling him, but you look at his record over the last few seasons. You know, Sam Lammers over the last few seasons has been an absolute disaster. And you know what? I would love the opportunity to sit down with Michael Beale and say to Michael Beale, Michael, what was it you saw in Sam Lammers? What was it you thought, you know, would be useful for this team? What did you actually see in this player that you think is good? I mean, you look at the guy's stats over the last few seasons and how he's performed at the clubs that he's been at. And I'll be honest with you, it's poor. It is genuinely, shockingly poor. He hasn't scored goals. He hasn't contributed a whole lot to any team he's played for. He's never, ever really put together anything, you know, in terms of goals per season. I mean, let's take PSV. So we'll ignore the PSV 2 stats, a young PSV. So playing in the Eredivisie in 2016-2017, he scored 2 goals. He scored 1 goal in 2017-2018. In 2019-2020, he scored 3 goals. In 2020-2021 for PSV, he didn't score a single goal in his appearance. He then went to Heerenveen. He scored 19 in 35. That to this day is his best record. So 2018-2019 was the last time Lammers recorded double figures. 2018-2019. That was 4 years ago, was the last time he got double figures. Okay, for Atalanta, he scored 2 in 17 appearances, didn't score any in 2 appearances. For Eintracht Frankfurt on loan, 2 in 22. For Empoli in Serie A, 14 appearances, 1 goal. For Sampdoria, 20 appearances, 1 goal. For Rangers, 18 appearances, 1 goal. I just genuinely don't get what he brings to the team. Good afternoon, Malky. How you doing, buddy? Thank you for joining me. Don't get it. Don't get it at all. Don't understand it. Can't figure it out. Look, I'm not professing to be any football genius. I'm not. I have got coaching certificates, but I'm not an outstanding coach. I don't see anything in Sam Lammers that suggests to me that he can come good. I just think he is a very, 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 very average player. And his Dessers is the same. I mean, I think it's 3 years ago the last time he scored double figures. So for me, those two should be nowhere near that starting lineup on Wednesday night. Not if we're serious about actually winning the game against Dundee. That's definitely what I'm good. Thanks, Malky. Good to speak to you. Like I said, Malky, it's just a case of trying to get a bit of live on here. I'm struggling for lives this week. I'm working late at work every night this week. So I'm out till 11, 12 o'clock every single night. So getting a live is very difficult indeed. But we have got some live podcasts coming up next week. I will have Scott McPike on from Rangers Assessment, who I'm going to be working very closely with over the next few weeks and months. I've got Curry Muncher coming on one as well. Scott, the other Scott as well, whose second name escapes me now. Scott Mackay as well is going to be on podcast next week, so come and join me for those. Look, it is a game that we've got to win. Wednesday night is a game. Aldo, hey buddy, how you doing? I'm good, buddy. Hanging on. Yeah, it's a must-win game for us. It's an absolute must-win game on Wednesday night. It really is. Like I said to Callum this morning, and I know Callum, you agreed. It is every game's a cup final now. Every game's a cup final. Now Dundee will put a low block on. It'll be a tough game, and as I said it earlier in the pod, I think what we saw on Sunday is perhaps more reflective of where this squad are at in terms of ability, in terms of talent. You know, Philippe Clement is a good coach. Don't get me wrong; he is a very good coach, and you can tell from the way he speaks and the way he talks that he is a good coach, and he is trying to get the best out of these players. But the issue is, there's, like I said earlier in the pod, you can't polish a turd. As for Wednesday, look, I'd love to see some of the young lads get a run out. I don't think they will. I think it will be very much what we've seen so far. If I had to predict a lineup, actually, no. If I was picking the team for Wednesday, I would go with Jack Butland in goal. My back four would be Tav, Goldson, Suter. I'd bring Suter in for Davis. I don't think Davis was terrible Sunday, but I don't think he was great. He was out-muscled a few times. And Ridvan Yilmaz, I know Ridvan he's not perfect. I know he's going to get targeted at the back post because of his height, but he's better than Borna Barisic. The two in front of that four for me would be Jack and Cifuentes. Even if we only get 45 minutes from Cifuentes and then bring Dowell on in the second half, it's got to be done. The three behind the main striker, I would have Ross McCausland wide right, Seamer wide left, Todd Cantwell, and I would start Danilo. I know that it's a risk. I know that perhaps you're not going to get a full 90 out of him, but I just think he presents more threat. He presents more going forward. He offers more going forward. And if we can get a couple of goals up, then we can start to take these players off. We can take Cantwell off. We can take Danilo off. We can take Seamer off. Ready for Sunday's game against Hearts, which is going to be tough in itself. So that for me is what I would do. That's how I would choose the team and pick the team for Wednesday night's game against Dundee at Dens Park, which will be tough. My prediction is going to be 2-1. I'm going for 2-1 to Rangers, Seamer and Danilo to score. We're going to go 2-0 up. They're going to get one back and make it nervous for us, but I do think we will come out on top 2-1. Obviously, then we look ahead to Sunday. A huge game at Hampden as Rangers take on Hearts. It could be difficult, given the fact that you've got a situation where we've already played Hearts, and I think once when you've played a team and then you've got to play them again the week after, and it's more tricky. They've got to know you a bit better. They've got to know your own players a little bit better, your systems a little bit better, the same way that you've got to know them a little bit better. So there is that worry going into Sunday's game. Again, we need to change it up a little bit. We need to mix it up, whether we change the formation a little bit. But I just think, again, we've got to go in there with a team that is capable of winning. Malky says, Dessers and Lammers are rubbish and not fit to have the Rangers top on their backs. Malky, 1,000,000% agree with you, buddy. They are rubbish. CJ Novo on his video said, it's like playing with 9 players. He said, and even though bringing Ryan Jack, once Dessers had gone off by that point for Danilo, he said, once we brought Ryan Jack on, which was weird for Sam Lammers, we actually had 11 players against 11 back on the pitch again. It wasn't 9v11 as it was from the start of the game. So Hearts, again, I think, a lot, again, will depend how these players come through Thursday. Is Tom Lawrence going to be back fit? If he is, he could be on the bench, an impact off the bench. I think it's imperative that we get minutes into the legs of Dowell and Cifuentes because they're going to have a role to play on Sunday. Because, look, Raskin, realistically, is going to be out for a fair few weeks now. Any injury that is a non-contact injury that you go down with is far more serious than an impact injury because it just tends to be, a twist of your ACL, a twist of your ankle ligaments, whatever. You're looking at 3, 4, 5 weeks out. So, I think the more minutes we get into the legs of Cifuentes and Dowell going forward, the better for us. Are they brilliant players? No, of course they're not. But we've got to, until January, kind of live with what we've got. And that is where we're at as a club at the moment. Is this squad good enough to win the league? Probably not. Could that change in January? Yes, it could. We could bring in some fantastic players. Now, a lot will depend on who is doing the buying. Is it going to be Clement? Is it going to be a director of football? And if it is a director of football, who is the new director of football going to be? And the sooner he or even she these days is appointed, the better for the club. Duncan McCarricher says, agree with the team you pick, Aaron. Thank you, Duncan. Aldo 21574 says, it'd be really interesting to see the lineup tomorrow. I know we have our injury problems, but surely Clement can't start with Dessers and Lammers. I think what was interesting for me, Aldo, was the fact that he hooked Dessers at half time. That which kind of sends a signal for me that he's not happy with him, that he wasn't impressed with him, that the last 2 games he's let us down. Yes, he scored that goal against Hibs. For most of the rest of that game, he was fairly poor. I think Clement isn't stupid. Clement is learning who he can trust. He's learning which players he can depend on. As Clement said, everyone starts with that. Everyone starts with that. But in time, it will get filled up with Clement's thoughts and Clement's impressions of those players. And there'll be some players that will be gone. Goodbye. And I think Dessers and Lammers could well be in that number. Look, at the end of the day, it's a huge week for Rangers. Absolutely huge week for Rangers. We need to come away. We need to be sitting here Sunday evening with 2 wins in our back pockets. We need to be sitting there with 3 points from Dundee on Wednesday night and a League Cup semi-final victory against Hearts. That's just how it has to be. Anything else is just not good enough. This club is at a point where it has to win silverware. The League Cup presents the best opportunity to win silverware because that lot from across the city are not in this anymore. Realistically, you've got, the game against Hearts. Yes, Hearts are, we saw on Sunday, a decent team. They're well organised. They know how to play against us. But look, at the end of the day, they are going to be bang up for this game. There is a sense of injustice there, isn't there? That was, I think that's probably part of the reason why he did it on Sunday night. Stephen Naismith talking utter bollocks about that penalty. Lundstrom blocking off. I mean, the fact that Haring has a huge, massive gap of his hand, is trying to switch shirts with Connor Goldson before the end of the game, has completely slipped his attention. If you watch that back, John Lundstrom makes no move to block off. He stands still. You are allowed to stand still and stand in the way of where someone is going to run. That is fine in football. If you stand your ground and you do not move, you are not going to commit a foul. If a player knocks it past you and you just stand there, he runs into you, it's tough luck. It's his job to avoid you. If he was to move to one side and you move to hit him, then it's a free kick. Stephen Naismith is talking utter rubbish, and I know some of the Hearts fans have bought into that rubbish that he's talking, but he's talking utter crap. So there we go. Clement will probably play the duds because of injuries, but I hope not. I think that's the only issue, Malky, is the fact we have so many injuries and so many injury issues that you're kind of a little bit hamstrung, aren't you, by who you can and can't play in this team. The other semi-final is obviously Aberdeen versus Hibs. Look, both those teams, are beatable. Both of those teams are teams that even in a final we should be beating. So this is an opportunity to kind of send another signal. We've sent one from Sunday by playing crap, but still beating them. I think in the past that is a game we don't win. That's a game we draw or we lose. Under Gio or under Michael Beale. Sunday, we need to win the semi-final. We need to win this League Cup. Show Celtic that we are back in the trophy winning business again. Send another clear signal to them. Let them know that we're not going anywhere. We will not go quietly into the night. We will keep fighting and we will keep on coming. Well, guys, I'm going to clock off for now. It's only meant to be a short pod. I've got a few other things to do. I need to get ready for work. Thank you to everyone who's joined us. It's been a smaller audience today. It was always going to happen with it being a lunchtime pod. Thank you for watching. It's been good to speak to you. Really needed it today, guys. Honestly, with everything that's going on at the moment with me at the moment, it's very difficult time at the moment for me. Thank you so much for your comment. Tam, hey Tam, how you doing, buddy? Let's hope we can get through this game with 0 injuries. I think that's the big one, Tam, for me as well, is to get through this game with no injuries, no further people on the treatment couch. Okay, guys, I am going to take it off. Thanks, Aldo. No worries, buddy. Thanks for watching. And as always, guys, on the way out, there's 2 things I need you to do for me. Number one is always smash the like. And number 2, remember, we are the people.